Hey guys, it's Shawn Ziem, the Connection Machine, aka the Insurance Doctor. This is live number 74 on the year. I know it's lunchtime. Again, as always, if you're eating your lunch, please don't mind. Definitely here to drop value, make you a better person. Hopefully, the important thing is that take this information and you take action. Reminder: make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Check it out. I would love to build an audience there. If you haven't already, check out webtalk.co. Join. Let's network on that platform as well. And if you're part of this on the live, on the replay, hashtag replay, hit the wow button, drop a comment where you're watching from, and then share and share and share this live anywhere and everywhere. Put it into groups. Anything, the value that we're bringing, we want you to make sure others are going to learn as well. So let me bring on my guest. What's going on, Eric? How are you?
Great. How you doing there, Shawn?
I'm doing excellent. I appreciate you taking some time out of your busy day to drop some value for us today. And can you, for those that are in my community, so they get to know who you are, can you give us a little introduction of who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name's Eric. I'm a loan consultant for Cardinal Financial. I pretty much do all things kind of when it comes to loans, commercial and residential, but particularly with Cardinal, what we like to do is deliver a really quality process for you so that you can get into your own home. I'm a father, young father, got a young daughter, so I am challenged each and every day. and I was a big time sports guy, and then kind of come from a pedigree of loan officers, people that have been in the mortgage industry. When I actually got into it, it was years, like something like a decade after my dad wanted me to get into the business, and I had no clue. I just was turned off, just growing up and hearing the things that he had to go through when he was, at my age and working. And I was totally turned off. And then all of a sudden, when it came around my turn, he was like, been trying to get you to do this. And I was like, this is what you wanted me to do? Why did you tell me that? So it's come full circle. But that's pretty much what I do, man. I try to deliver, the difference with kind of what I do is I'm not really like a big sales guy. I just kind of like, I think mortgages are a strategy. I got into it because of me going through that experience and the negative impacts that I dealt with. And I was like, dude, if I can help somebody else like understand what really is going on and help them plan out and recognize this is a financial strategy for you, then I'm doing all the better because I know what I went through. I don't want anybody else to go through.
No, I love that. And that's usually what happens. Like people don't just come out of, growing. Well, you had a father as a mentor, but a lot of people, when I ask them how do they get into the mortgage business, they're like, they fall into it. It's like just something they always have a story. So it's awesome that you had a mentor as a dad that you looked up to. And actually, we were like, wait, do we really want to get into this? Because you saw, and this is going to be great. So we can kind of talk about what it was when he was doing it and what you're doing. How has life changed having your daughter?
Full circle, I mean, I always felt like I was a pretty conscious individual, and try to look, and it's actually kind of one of the reasons also why I naturally flowed over to mortgages is because I always wanted to figure out what it was like to be in somebody else's shoes. So homes are kind of that same way, that's your base. That's kind of where a lot of your beliefs and your structures that you live on with kind of come from. And it led, when I was acting, is doing the same thing. You want to step into somebody else's shoes to see how life was for them. So I'm losing my point here a little bit, but basically what I'm saying is that's kind of like, my kind of why and stuff like that. I'm always infinitely curious, and so then, but when I was speaking with my daughter and how that has changed, I wasn't really prepared. Like I'm a pretty prepared person. That's, I guess, what I was trying to illustrate with my just previous comments. And the one thing that I remember the most is when she was born. First of all, seeing like life like come about, like that's just fascinating, like to see
Mm-hmm.
somebody's beginning. But I was the first person she saw on this earth. And when they cleaned her up, and I was almost like pushing the doctors out of the way, like, it's my baby, I'll clean her up. Yeah. And I held her. Shawn, it was the first time I could remember that I lost time. Like I had no concept of time whatsoever. And in this business, everything's about time. You know, timing to get to that lead, or timing to get somebody in the home, or timing to meet, you know, certain deadlines. My whole day, every day, all day, except for before COVID, was time.
Mm-hmm.
And when she was in my arms that first time, I completely forgot what anything else in the world was. We left. We actually had an emergency C section, and we left my wife's family in the waiting room, and I didn't even realize it. Hours went by.
Mm-hmm.
Hours, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, there's other people in the world. The world's going on. I had to go rush out and tell them everything's okay, everything's okay. But that, you know, then I knew something was different. And it's funny how like you just, children are so much more special to you after that. Not just obviously your own, but like everybody else around. Like you're just much more aware of your impact on them, and also, you know, paying attention to them, and making sure that, you know, they have a positive experience.
No, it's, you said, you know, that why, and that changes everything. Like when you're younger and you're growing up, you're doing you, and then once you have, especially us having daughters, man, it's just like clicks. And I have two. I have a 13-year-old and I have an 18-month-old, and then we have a new one coming, and we don't know if it's a boy or a girl. And I told my wife, I said, can we just let it go and see what happens and roll the dice, and whatever comes out that day, that comes out. She's like, okay. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, she likes to plan everything. And she's like, no, let's do it. I'm like, all right. So it's really an awesome, this time around, we don't know what we're having. You know, would it be awesome to have a boy? Sure. Will I probably end up having a girl? I probably will. And I have my basement, I have my location. So I know going forward, that's how it is. But I work so much harder ever since I had my first daughter, my second daughter, this one coming on. So it's the purpose, the fire, the motivation. It just drives me. And I want to help as many people as possible, because we know the more people we help, the more money you can make. And it's just a matter of, like you said, you don't like the selling part. It's all about relationships. That's what I know with you. It's something that you put yourself out there, you're working hard and closing deals. And a lot of people, you don't throw things against the wall and hope it sticks. And a lot of people in the mortgage origination field, that's what they do. And I know every client I work with you, it end up closing. There's no ever issues that come up. We always have, you know, crystal clear expectations you give. I believe that's awesome.
Yeah. You know, and I think when I say that, like, I don't sell, I think I've always been the type that, like, you know, again, coming from like a sports background, you prove it on the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your work is your sale. You know what I mean? So if I'm doing the right thing by somebody, they're going to say, hey, dude, Eric really hooked me up on that. And then that's a bigger sell than me coming up and spitting out some sales strategies to, you know, get into, you know, your emotions, and then, you know, get it high enough so that you're going to be willing to buy. Which, speaking of, though, I'm glad that your wife bought that right away, because that's what we did with my daughter. I was like, look, I want to do this like old school, like when I was born, like when back then, like guys weren't even allowed into the like emergency room when they were giving birth. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, for some people, I guess that's good, but for me, I was like, no way. I want to see everything. I want to know and all that. But I got so much flack. Oh my God, from her family, from her friend. Oh, we don't know what to buy. And I'm like, the baby doesn't care.
Yeah, you're right.
And so I'm glad that you went with it, because man, they were after me.
The first time we did the whole gender reveal, and I'm a baseball guy, so we had the baseball that you toss and you hit it and all that stuff, and that was awesome. We did it. I'm like, let's try just going old school and see how that goes. And yeah, we have some people are like, are you sure? Well, don't you guys want to know? I'm like, does it really matter? We have a girl already. We have all enough clothes that a girl can need, and it's around November, so it'll be around Christmas time that if it's a boy, there's a lot of stuff coming because of Christmas. So we just are just not worried about it, and it's been nice just to live and and not have to worry. But yeah, some people have to know and plan, but
Yeah.
that's not us this time around, which is great, which is awesome.
I'm not getting away with that the next time.
Yeah, for sure. And but I enjoy when parents, dads, I know there's something else that's involved, and I love working with you because there's that why. Because you get up every single day, you're unemployed. That's the mindset. You have to find business, and some people going through this pandemic the last 3 months or whatever time we're in right now has made some people very, very, very successful. And there's some people that are way behind the eight ball right now because they sat on their ass. Woe is me. This is not, no one's doing anything, which is that true?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, I mean, I was discussing this a lot, and I've actually kind of gone through a sine wave through it as well as, everybody's like, because I don't think there's a lot of clear communication that people can trust. I don't care what side of policy,
Yep.
that you are, or whatever, or what your mindset is. I don't think there's a lot out there that people could that feel like they could truly trust. So you kind of like, oh, okay, we're going to get out of this, or we're not, or whatever. So you kind of feel like you're in a position, especially in the mortgage industry. For a minute there, it was really hairy. It was really, really hairy. And, some companies just won't be around anymore. Other companies are finding their stride, and we're able to be able to rely on, again, relationships, their talent, their people, so that they're able to survive and then come out of it. One of the great things I loved about Cardinals, they really didn't change anything. To me, that's like the sign. In '08, a lot of people you would hear, oh, well, a talent isn't getting laid off. I thought that was kind of insulting. But then at the same time, I was like, if you really think about it, like, where do you want to be? And life's a choice. So I continually chose, especially I think also my daughter motivated like this time around going, hey, wait a minute, man, like, let's look at this thing a little different. What's the opportunity? How can I get better? Not just in the mortgage industry, but as an individual, what can I recognize within myself that needs to improve? And I've always kind of been big on that. I'm a person that looks at life as no matter what happens to you, at some point it's on you. And basically meaning that life's 50-50. 50 is an outside influence and 50 is on you.
Yeah.
So, that could be, some people may look at that as a measure of control, but I think humanity shows you that it's a reality and things are possible. And if you look at, like some companies, I forgot the exact one right now, that thought their business was completely under, and they had the capacity to make masks. So they completely switched their business to making masks and helping people where they found that there was a shortage, and they're doing record volume, and those are the type of things. Like if we look in and we're actually, it's not about being altruistic. It's just about being real. If you are in the same room as somebody and you're willing to work with it, and you're both willing to strive to do something better and work together, and recognize opportunities, you can go somewhere. Look at Amazon. So
They're killing it.
yeah, and I wish I could have invested in liquor stores before this happened. I mean, you don't want to, and I'm not saying like, just anything and everything that's an opportunity, but I'm just saying that things are possible. And if you want to take the right mindset, you can come out of this thing, way ahead, so.
It goes with hope, like knowing that keep plugging away, staying positive, things are going to happen for you. But if you just have that negative mindset, things are not going to click. And I look at this,
you're not going to recognize the opportunities.
Right. And I see my parents had COVID, and my father was basically on his deathbed, and he's home. They're both home now. Like, what a transformation that they had, and the fire that they had. So that drives me even more. It's like, dude, my mother was able to beat this. I have my daughter who had a liver transplant a year ago. So I have a lot of miracles that have happened around me, and it just keeps driving me because I know the more I put myself out there, the more opportunities are going to come, because I'm all about help. I'm not going to sell you a crap policy, give you a bad connection with somebody you're looking for, because I'm all about making sure things are working right. And that's important. And as you're in the mortgage business, how important is, home ownership today? A lot of people, oh, I'm just going to rent. I don't know what's going to happen. But I know I rented for a period of time, but I know owning a home is so much better because I'm building equity. I'm having things for the future. I'm paying down debt. You have a footing in a town because you're not going to be jumping to apartment, etc. So how important what are some things that we can share for those that are looking for home ownership today?
Well, I think especially with the pandemic, and I want to touch real quick. This is why it's a great conversation to have with you because I'm not, like I've been fortunate. We haven't had really been impacted that greatly by this virus, and there's a lot of people that have in a very tragic way.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you could try to see the positive and you could try to start building at least one block at a time, you can start getting yourself out of some things. And one of the great opportunities for people, I mean, obviously we have low rates, so you can refi. I had a friend, a dear friend, who, the wife's got a good job. They were kind of laid off, and I was able to save them over $500 a month. And they've got a young daughter about the same age as mine. I mean, that's how close we are. And to me, I was like, dude, look at what a great friend. And I got more money. Like it was real quick. We did, and it was real simple. But like that gave them an opportunity to kind of negate the negative impact of this virus so that they can get through it a little bit easier. And it's things like that. Like if you have a home right now, 40% of homes in America right now have 100% equity. And then it becomes like a sliding scale from that. But what it's telling you is that 60%, like there's so many people that can get help right now, whether it be, if you're in a unique situation and you're like, hey, look, I may not have gotten my unemployment yet, or I don't want to collect it, or, these are ways that you could save yourself money and give yourself options. Or, some people it's, hey, look, if you're in let's say Brooklyn, you could be in a single family home and you're sharing walls with both of your neighbors. You could feel claustrophobic and say, hey, look, I want to be out of the situation. Maybe I want to move a little further out, the exo suburbs or the suburbs. You have enough equity that you could do so. But the main thing is when you are renting, you don't really have options. You may have options to not get evicted for a period of time, but that's coming up. And a lot of people that couldn't pay or weren't able to pay, they're going to have to come up with a lump sum of cash. So you're looking at some, very hard choices probably. And when you own a home, you're investing. You're not only investing in that home, you're investing in yourself. You're investing in your future. And to me, my wife and I code about this kind of often because I work so hard, but I don't care about money. I care about opportunity and options, because when a human being generally has that, they generally create things. The life's a lot more better. They have a better impact on not only their community, but their family, their friends, and the world around them. So, I've never been, or at least wasn't since I was very young, looked at things that hey, boom, there's a problem. I'm a problem solver. I love solving problems. That's why I love math so much. So to me, I see a problem and I'm kind of like that guy, some people call it the Napoleon complex, whatever it may be. But I look at something and I see an obstacle in my way and I'm like, I'm going to beat that obstacle. How do I beat that obstacle? I have a weakness. You have a weakness. And I think I can be disciplined enough to overcome it so that you're no longer an obstacle. And whatever that is, I prefer it to be a friend. And, afterwards, if we be on equal ground, whatever it may be, but I don't want to see obstacles I don't want them to hinder my progress. So when you have those options, you're able to maneuver. Things aren't as bad. You're like, okay, whatever, that's a problem. Okay, I know how to handle it. And you just move on and you keep stepping, and you're enjoying your life. Because that's ultimately what I think life should be, is enjoying this amazing experience that you were given, whether you asked for it or not. So.
Yeah, what you put into it is what you're going to get out. So it's important that you have to you could feel the passion that you have, the energy for the business. And yes, you had your father to see ins and outs when you were younger? And what were some things you were able to take from your dad when he first, because it was a different business it is now than it was then. I
Yeah.
know back in the day you always had the full doc loans, and then we went
Yeah.
into all that craziness with the no income, no asset, and you had a pulse, you can get a loan, and now we're
Yeah.
back to the full doc kind of loans. What are some things that are that you've seen as far as change since him?
Well, kind of like you were saying, like I remember a guy, I was working in a bar, and he was my busboy, and this was in Santa Monica, California, and he was going to go move to Vegas because service industry's good there, and he bought this $400,000 home, and I was like, dude, I can't afford that $400,000 home, and I make 3 times your money. So how are you going to do it? But that's kind of like what my dad would deal with, like back in the day. Like they kind of like wrote on a piece of paper, faxed it over to an investor. Investor said approval, and then you kind of were, rocking and rolling, and just had to deal with a lot of whatever the state regulations were. But when he was dealing with it again, you didn't have the regulations that came through in LA. You didn't have TRID. You didn't have to, send out the disclosures the way you do now. And some of that's a big hurdle. I've lost some customers because we have to, when we disclose our initial disclosures, they have to be higher than what we think that you're ever going to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the government doesn't want, because before people were shady and they would go, okay, and you're closing at your mortgage and you're at the closing table and your loan officer would say, I want $5,000 more or else this thing's not going to close. Well, we kind of need to regulate against that.
Yeah.
But we have to protect, the company. There's a business aspect to it as well. So that's why I take a lot of time when we're doing those initial disclosures to hold me accountable. Here's where I think you're going to be. Here's what we have to disclose. Here's your final disclosure. See how it matches and what I'm advising you. You see that it's relatively accurate. And I'm usually really good at that because I take the time to figure that stuff out. But like, you didn't have to deal with that before. You didn't have to deal with the tremendous, the ability to repay on your mortgage. So, you could get deals through way quicker, way easier. We're trying to be more responsible. And I think one of the good things about that, though, is I think that's part of what helped us, because people don't realize in March, like the lending industry almost went under.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of us having that in there helped us because you didn't have certain defaults, 70% of the forbearances were people that could pay. And then a lot of those people end up continuing to pay even though they went into forbearance, so they were giving mortgages to the right people and they were advising them appropriately, getting them in that right strategy, so we're able to survive something because we made some right decisions, whether we liked it or not previously. So there's a tremendous amount of things that, you have to deal with now than you didn't have to before. And all of it is really to try to protect the consumer.
Mm-hmm. And it's important because, like you say, we don't need no gunslingers and just getting after and taking people's money. It's not the way to do business. And you have your
ring. I like it in certain places, but I don't like it when you're threatening somebody's family at home.
Right. You want to make sure it's done, and you expect to pay certain things, and that's how it should be. And that's important to be upfront with people and have the right expectations. Now, you have your family, you work hard. Do you have any hobbies? Are you a golfer?
No, man. I've always been a baseball guy, and it was funny. One of my influential coaches, just as negative as positive, he didn't like any of his baseball players to play soccer or golf. And soccer because a lot of our really good athletes end up blowing their knees out. And then golfing at the time, there wasn't the knowledge that we have right now, in the breadth and depth of knowledge that we have about sports, about our bodies, about nutrition, everything else. So a lot of baseball coaches believed if you played golf, you ruined your swing. he didn't want to do it. And I was never into the golf thing. I'm so bad at golf. Like it's probably like in some states illegal for me to even play. Like I remember one time I was out with my buddies and we're in LA and he was like, "No, man, you got to play. It's so much fun." And we went out there and a guy was it was on a golf course where there were homes. And I don't know how to this day how this happened, but I hit it and it literally went right behind me. And this guy was in his backyard barbecuing and it almost hit him and it broke a window. And the only reason why he wasn't upset is because the Lakers were playing at the time and they won. And I was a Lakers fan and we just both started cheering. It was like a playoff game. We're like, yeah! And so he's like, just go play. Don't worry about it. I mean, that bad. So I stay away from golf. But if you want to get into a batting cage, brother, get on a baseball field, dude, I am your boy.
That's awesome. I kind of, it sucks right now that we're not able to watch any games at the moment. I know they're trying to put something together. Golf, yeah, I agree. When you're younger, yeah, you don't know the difference between your muscle memory. That's why it's a different game. It can be very frustrating, and it's funny that I like it because I can go to a driving range and have a meeting, and people say, "Oh, let's go to your office." No, let's go to a driving range, hit some balls for an hour, and we're getting some exercise. We're building a relationship. But hey, going to a batting cage. That's another thing that we could possibly do for sure to hit some balls, get some the stress out, etc. Now
I love those golf ranges that they incorporate with like the bar and like the music and stuff. Those ones are really cool.
Yeah, that Top Golf, that's real popular. People are you rent out the thing. You have people have some drinks. That could be dangerous too. People drinking and a ball flying. So and people throwing a club. So it could be pretty difficult.
Don't go with those people.
That's the scary ones you got to stay away from. So with your business, are you marketing in any particular way? Do you focus on any particular professionals for your relationships? Are you lending in other states as well?
Yeah, I focused on anybody that is in any way a part of the business. There's a one gentleman that actually owns Wheels Up. Have you heard of that? They're like everywhere now, especially with the NFL. It's a private jet company. And he was like, "Eric," one day he just came up to me. He's like, "Eric, what are you doing? Everybody should know the Lone Ninja. Everybody in the entire world should know." And like, I remember, and this was right before they really took off. And I was kind of like, if you look at the guy, you're kind of like, all right, this guy seems like a knucklehead, and I'm like, I'm going to take advice from this guy. And literally like within a week, like he was like in commercials with Tom Brady. Like, the NFL took him up and he was just like, "Look, man, this is, you got to market to anybody and everybody that has an influence or a part of the business." He's like, "Who do you want to help?" And I was like, "I want to help everybody." He's like, "Then help." So kind of everybody. We do some pretty cool things with Cardinal right now that we're about to unleash. We got websites and stuff like that. I got another personal website that's about to go up. Start to pick up a little bit more on Facebook, obviously. I like to, I can't right now, but I like to personally interact with people. So a little bit, that was a little bit of a block for me. But, whether my mom wants me to put like stuff on my car, I won't do that. I won't be that person. I'm not selling
magnets and stuff.
When I'm driving, sometimes I want to be anonymous. But,
so they're honking at you.
Oh yeah, because I could be the one honking at you. Yeah. I actually had to stop that, Shawn. Like I was like, because I used to have bad road rage, and I used to go like, "Hey," I had to tell myself, I go, "Eric, that person you're honking at could be somebody you would need to help." So I've stopped that for the most part. But it's all kinds of things. And right now you got to be a little bit more creative. I think it's really important to give a lot, of help and knowledge and showing people how you can, give them extra value, we've teamed up, like you said at the beginning, with helping people, get that extra icing on the cake when it comes to their savings, and their refining. A lot of people don't even think about looking at their homeowners insurance. And, hey, it may work, it may not, but if you can save an extra $50, $60 a month, that $200 you were saving is almost $300 now. You know
Yep.
what I mean? The 250s, 310, you know, that's going to help a lot. And those things have an impact on you. Maybe that's a bill, maybe that's a car payment, maybe that's, you know, with me, my cell phone payment.
Yeah.
But, you know, it alleviates that payment. It keeps more money in your pocket. I don't know about you, but I have no problem paying taxes or whatever. But when I make a dollar, I want to keep it,
Yep.
you know?
Try to
So,
save as much as you can. I mean, yes, I agree with you 100%. Adding value to people is so key for us to continue getting recommendations for those that are out there. And that's why I like doing this and having conversations. And you drop major nuggets of value and golden information that I hope they take and actually implement. That's a lot
yeah.
of, I chuckle because people say, oh, I can't share some of the what I do or my tips and tricks because they're going to take my business. And it's like, no, they're not, because people listen to what others are doing and they don't implement. And it's funny to me. You can tell people exactly word for word what you do to get business, and they won't follow it. And you have no worries about anything. So I try to give as much as I can, as much value as possible every single day. So I know it comes back to me. Is there any final thoughts you would like to share with everyone today?
Well, one of the big things right now, especially in the Northeast, well, I forgot to mention the states I'm in. I'm in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Florida. But especially in the Northeast and also somewhat in Florida, even though with the COVID increases now, I think it's going to be dying off a little bit. But particularly in the Northeast, it's a feeding frenzy when it comes to purchases. A lot of people are getting, a lot of sellers are getting a lot of offers, and they're getting them, you know, very quickly and well over asking. Like I was mentioning to people, if you may have a single family in Brooklyn, you may feel a little claustrophobic. You want to get out. And there's only so many ways out of Manhattan. So New Jersey and the outer parts of New York have become really popular.
Yeah.
One of the big things for you to do is it's all about winning the contract. And that is going to be based basically on making the seller feel really comfortable with your offer. Now, of course, they mean they want to make money off of it, but also that mainly that it's going to go through. A lot of cash offers do not make it. So you want to get under pre-approved, and I mean like truly pre-approved, not pre-qualified. The terms are used way too loosely in the industry, but to actually be pre-approved, which means you went to an underwriter, you got pre-approved before even you had a property, so that everything now is on the seller. As long as the title's good, as long as the appraisal's good, and obviously you maintain your job, you know, the things, your situation stays the same, you're going to close. But the great thing about that is a bank has set aside the money for you. So you are way better than everybody else that's on a wish and a prayer that just got a qualification maybe from a loan officer. It's like, hey, I got to do this real quick, you know, just to get it out there to get the deal possibly, but actually thought it through, really looked at you. And now you could sit there and say to the seller, hey, look, I've done the underwriting, you know, so my money's sitting there. So you're pretty, you know, you're about as guaranteed as you're going to get. And that helps get people way above the other competition. So they can win that contract and allow that seller to be comfortable with your offer. That's one of the main things. And then I would also say, you know, if you're looking, you know, if you have, first of all, if you have an interest rate that's above 4, there's no reason almost for you not to refi. But particularly if you have an FHA, you should really consider going conventional and remove your mortgage insurance. That's going to be an added bonus. And conventional rates are almost parallel to government rates right now, FHA, VA. So even if you lock at, you know, an eighth of a point better, you still are going to probably save a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm. No, I appreciate you, man. This is lots of great value. Definitely appreciate you taking some time out of your day. When we're done, please go back in, drop your Instagram and LinkedIn, all your contact information for those that are out there. Guys, friend request Eric. Make sure you know who he is. Message him, text message him. You know, get in contact. Any questions you might have, definitely he's there to answer as much as possible, and he's all about helping. So if you're a real estate agent, give him a shout. See what you guys can do together, and know that that deal can close. And I can vouch, a lot of the opportunities that Eric's thrown my way, they all close. It's not like we're hoping it's going to happen. It always ends up doing. So I appreciate you, man. We'll definitely see you soon. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.
Hey, see ya. Thank you very much, Shawn, man. Appreciate it.
You got it, my man. Have a great one.
You as well.